What's up, guys? Michael and Phil here. We are the Koala Guys, and today is episode 1 of the new show. We are going to give a little background on ourselves for those who don't know us. And
Basically how we got here to this point, right?
yeah, that's right. We'll hop right into it and hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah. So I guess the first question for the beginning is how we met, right?
Yeah, which was high school. We were
The good old days, right?
Yeah, good old high school friends. We met freshman year, didn't really start hanging out until sophomore. And yeah, it started then. Kind of, had high school girlfriends at the time. That kind of occupied stuff, but we always
stuck
together.
And we clicked right away, like we were having a good time from the very first day that we met. I think we met like at a park or something, if I'm correct.
Playing basketball.
Playing basketball, was
Yeah.
it? Okay. Yeah, and then after that, I think we were hanging out literally every single day for like maybe 2 weeks straight until I remember you got a girlfriend. And then you kind of fell off a little bit.
That's
after
right.
that.
How that happens in high school, right? You get a first serious girlfriend or one of, and kind of just occupies your time.
And that was the first time where I was like, what the hell is going on over here, because I didn't even know you guys were talking, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to hang out with you, and then you got a girlfriend, and I'm like, how did this even happen? Is this what goes on in this friend circle or something like that?
Right. Well, that's another thing, because you moved from the city. You lived in Chicago before middle school. You moved around a lot. And then in middle school, you moved to Niles.
Right. So I kind of seen like all the differences in different kind of like suburb cities. I mean, Poland here, it's every place that I went to was like super different. So with you, it was like, what the hell is going on? How did this guy get a girlfriend? I didn't think that you guys were even talking, and then you disappeared. I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting a good friend over here. We're hanging out, and then boom, he's gone, just like that. Yeah. But I was kind of understanding, so I was like, hey, if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. But yeah, fast forward to later on, we kind of got introduced to one another again, and that was, I think, after high school, right?
Yeah, I mean, we
hung out
still, so it wasn't like a break off, like we just stopped being friends. We still kept in touch and hung out at parties every once in a while, but like starting to hang out again more was freshman year of college for sure.
Right.
But because growing up in Poland, that was like farm life, right?
I mean, yeah, I was born in a big city, but I grew up in a town of maybe 1,000 people.
Holy crap.
So it was really small, and yeah, everybody there basically had, cows and pigs and stuff like that. So I was kind of like used to that kind of life early on.
So you were milking the cows.
I tried it one time. It was like, I don't remember much of it, but absolutely.
Oh, I could see you rocking the flannel and the Superman haircut.
I like it. I mean, Smallville, Superman, right. I love that stuff. That was like, Smallville was like my show when I was growing up. I loved it. Maybe it did connect with me on that level or something like that, but yeah.
What would you say was your favorite to live? Like, because you've seen it all. You've done farm life. You've done, inner city. You've done suburb. Yeah, I don't know what else there could be, I guess. What would you say? Because it's all different.
It's all different.
And you did it at different stages in your life.
I mean, definitely, I think what I'm doing now, right? Like living a suburb life, I think is my favorite. I like the city, but it's kind of not for me, I would say. I would say I'm like 50-50 because I like the fast-paced life of the city, but sometimes I like the slow life as well, right? So more suburbs life. So I'm like 50-50. And definitely I think I would rather be in the suburbs overall if I have to choose one. But, like having a second location in Chicago, I think is a nice thing as well. Enjoy the views and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you're obviously a little, I would say, the opposite, right? Like you love the city and this is where you always want to be.
For sure. Definitely a city person. I don't see me and Jess moving out of the city anytime soon. We've even talked about it lately. Like, we might not even ever move out of the city. It just all kind of depends, right? Because every couple of years, you get a new kind of way of thinking. Like, a big life change can happen. Like, kids or like, people know that Chicago isn't the safest, but
Yeah, your decision or your mindset, I should say, might change, right?
right, it could change. But again, people are like scared to come to Chicago because they're like, oh, I'm gonna hear gunshots.
And that's what I
see
was
stuff.
actually
I'm
saying like a couple days ago. I don't know if it was with you or someone else, but like when people that don't know about Chicago hear about Chicago, like the first thing they think about is like the violence, you
right,
know, which
that
is
they
like,
go straight to that. Whenever I go visit Monica in Wisconsin and like her coworkers or whatever, I get introduced for the first time, tell them from Chicago, they're like, how is it? Like, oh my God.
like they're so interested
Yeah,
about
they're like,
that.
how many
that's the
times do
only
you got
thing
to
here?
dodge bullets? I'm like, it's not a war zone. Like, people actually perceive it in the media. It's not like that. You got to be aware of your surroundings. You got to not
But
act
see,
like an
media's doing
idiot.
its job, literally.
Right.
Like they want you to think that, and most people think that.
Right. No
That
place is perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect by any means.
absolutely not.
But, I love it here. I know Jess loves it down here, and we don't plan on going anywhere.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe me and my wife will change our minds too, and maybe we'll live somewhere like this full time. You know, because like being here the last couple of days, I actually am enjoying it. I still don't think I would want to live here full time, but it's nice to be here. Couple days out of the month, I would say. So,
Well, for you
never know.
guys being in the suburbs, not dealing with the traffic all the time to coming to deal with this,
right, and that's like
Constant.
my biggest.
I would
thing
feel
about
the
the
same way.
city.
Like, if I was used to no traffic in the suburbs and coming to that all the time, like, yeah,
Right.
it's a pain in the ass. But once you're here for like 2 weeks and you're just like, you get used to it, it's fine.
Yeah. We'll see as time goes on. But anyways, so we were talking about how we kind of reconnected in college, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think when we reconnected, we were hanging out a little bit, but then again, we kind of stopped talking, and out of nowhere, I think I came to you with like a business proposal, right?
So we were hanging out right before you and Camille started King of Maids.
Right.
And then that's when you went like dark mode almost for the first time. And
Favorite.
Yeah. And you and Camille, that's when you guys blew up King of Maids in like 2 years. So
What's crazy is that at that time, like I'm pretty sure like we were going maybe almost at a record pace. Like nobody was doing numbers like that. And at that time, we thought that we're literally not going fast enough. Like looking back at it now, it's like, yeah, we were going pretty quick. But back then, not knowing almost anything about business and being so new, we were literally like, okay, this is like so slow. We're never going to be, making any money, like going at this speed. So we were trying to figure out different ways of starting different businesses that could be scaled faster, which was, that's just kind of like nonsense talks. Like you learn after a while.
I wouldn't call it nonsense. It's just that you didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? And you guys weren't, I guess, I feel like Twitter and Facebook groups are huge now where people ask questions like, hey, I've been in the business 9 months. This is my revenue. Like, compared to others, how good is that? That wasn't really a thing back then.
Well, see, that's where I think actually it was starting to be a thing. And that's what kind of started that train of thought. Okay. Because like when we were doing all this stuff or we were growing King of Maids at first, it was basically no social media. Me and Camille were never on social media. It was just, grind every single day, do your duties, go home and sleep. And then all of a sudden, social media, like we've already kind of had some success, and then we started to go like on social media a little bit, and that's when it started to get bad, where you start to see a bunch of guru scammers promoting how fast they've achieved
Snake
their
oil.
Yeah, right, exactly. So like then it's like, whoa, we were doing these numbers, but these guys are doing these numbers, and that's where it started to kind of like I don't know, like trick you in a way,
Mess
right?
with your head.
Mess with your head, right? So yeah, that's why I think that was happening. And then it took a while, and then we'll probably share a lot about this stuff in future episodes, but it took a while to get out of that mindset, and finally be like, okay, most of those guys don't do numbers like that. They're just scamming. Stop believing everything that you see on social media. And that's where the other kind of like, so it was an experience, and it was a good one, I think, because now at least I know, question everything about social media. Everything you see on social media is literally just think of it that it could go this way or it could go that way, right? Don't believe a single thing that you see on there. And yeah, that's basically point.
You can't even trust like beef between two people, like them being in a fight. Like they could be buddies behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
And like meet up in a penthouse like this and just be like on the side and be like, all right, this is what we're going to talk about this week.
They just
like,
know what people want.
Right. I'm going to hit you with this. You hit me with that, and sell the experience, right? Sell whether it's an upcoming album or a new clothing line or something.
Most likely they're selling something, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
So,
or maybe they're not even selling something. They just want to look cool and get the views or whatever. So it's like, you cannot listen to that stuff. I think that if you want to be successful, sure, social media could be a great tool, but be very careful and really like look deep.
the one thing that school and the education system taught us is do your research, right? No matter what homework assignment you had to figure it out. It's the same in life.
Right.
Figure it out. Don't take it to its word. Always question everything. No matter what somebody says, if they're the most believable person in the world, double, triple, quadruple check what they say, because you never know.
100%.
It could take one little thing in their life for them to flip and start being not so honest anymore.
And that's what I don't like. Like if you go on someone's channel and they were talking about this stuff because it was convenient for them, at that time, 2 years later, you go on their channel and now they're promoting this, and all of a sudden their mindset changed or something, which could happen. But when you dig deeper, you know what's really going on. Like, I hate that.
I know there's somebody in mind that I'm thinking of right now that I feel like you might be touching base on that, but that'll be for a different time, because I know we can get into hours on that. You had King of Maids and the other business that you started with Camille, because you guys figured you weren't going fast enough, was Surprise My Pet.
Yeah.
The subscription craze that was going on at that time.
Yeah, that was the whole thing at that time. Everybody was like, oh, okay, subscription boxes, get it delivered every month. And that's like the beginning of it, where everything was blowing up. So yeah, we got into that.
How was that?
Worst business I've ever done in my life. I think we were like doing everything ourselves, like packaging. So like King of Maids was kind of running on its own at that moment. We already hired all the people that could manage it, run it. So we basically didn't have to do anything. So we were focusing on the other business.
Real quick though, let's put timelines. You started King of Maids
19 years old.
19 years old, which was what year?
13 maybe?
13.
Something like that.
2015.
Yeah, 2 years later.
You start Surprise My Pet in the early 2015.
Early 2015, somewhere around there. And that's when it's like mindset is, okay, we need something that could scale faster, which at that point it was like, we thought that could scale faster because King of Maids, right? You need to hire cleaners. You cannot increase business unless you have, the workers there, which the scalability of it kind of depends on the cleaners, which is very hard, right? And here it's basically, yes, you need people to build the boxes, but it's a lot easier to find those people to do that than to find reliable cleaners, right? So we're like, okay, here it's just all about customers. Let's start this business. It could scale faster. And honestly, we weren't doing that bad. I can't remember. We ended up selling the business to someone in New York, but we were doing, I think, like $10,000 a month in revenue after we sold it. And that we got there from, I think, within a year or so. But during that year, I was like, wow, I don't want to do this business, because this is like, it just I don't know. It's just something that didn't fit our personalities. We didn't like doing it. At first, we were even packaging the boxes and stuff like that, which is from not doing almost anything at King of Maids except being behind the desk and just figuring out how to grow. All of a sudden, you're going back into, packaging everything yourself. So it was just like, I think it was a horrible decision starting that business, but I don't ever say that because there's a lesson from every experience, right?
For sure.
So we got a huge lesson out of that. We learned a lot of things. We learned how to grow a different type of business, which I think somewhere in the future we use those lessons somehow in a positive way, right? So, but yeah, that's kind of the timeline and what we were doing at Surprise My Pet.
So you guys end up selling that at the end of 2015.
Yeah, 2015.
And that's basically right after you came back from New York, because you guys drove a U-Haul with all the supplies to this new buyer.
Yep.
Come back, and that's kind of when we really rekindled again, and you came messaged me and said,
out of the blue, I think too, right?
Completely out of the blue.
I don't even remember what I said, but I think I just messaged you
and it was crazy because I was down bad at that time, and I was contemplating moving out of state to go live with my sister in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I remember when I was reaching out to you, you were at the lowest point.
For
I think,
sure.
that you were telling me, and I don't think I even knew that when I reached out to you. I think later you told me that. What was going on at the time?
You figured out kind of quick. I mean, after dropping out of college, it was kind of just that first moment in your life where you're like, all right, I'm an adult. I don't have school anymore. I'm working. And in my eyes, I was making, I don't know, $50K a year between two part-time jobs. So I was like, all right, no school, making some kind of money, at 20 years old, 19, 20 years old, I just partied.
Yeah.
I partied a lot, got into drugs, unfortunately, and went through a bad breakup. And it was just all kind of weighed down all at the same time, And then it kind of hit too, well, now that I'm not in college, what the hell am I going to do with my life?
Reality started to
for sure.
Yeah.
Am I going to be delivering pizzas my whole life? Am I going to be managing a valet company? I don't want to do any of that shit, I want to way more with my life. And yeah, I felt like I needed a fresh start. So that's where the whole moving out of Chicago and moving to Wisconsin, which I don't know what the hell I was thinking then, because no offense to anybody who lives in Wisconsin or my sister living there, it's just not me. Way too slow paced.
Right, not for you. And the same,
yeah.
I know the feeling. I moved to Florida. I felt like, if you live anywhere but maybe Miami, that was so slow paced for me. I couldn't do it.
Right. So yeah, you reached out and it was to start Sassy Egg, the marketing company.
Yeah.
And
that was probably because, again, I was starting to see people I'm not even going to give names in this episode. We'll do that some other time. But you saw these things, on social media. You're like, whoa, these guys got marketing agencies. Let's get in there, we'll make some money. And we never wanted to scam people, though.
No.
There are people out there that do that and scam, and they just really care about money. We definitely never, wanted to do it that way. We actually wanted to help people and also make a lot of money by running a marketing company.
For sure.
Still, that was a pretty bad move.
We kind of got, I don't want to say suckered, but it was Wolf of Wall Street was big then. So it was how can we have that fast-paced party lifestyle?
Right. And we were young, so.
And yeah, but be genuine at the same time and not do it with stocks, but with the marketing company.
Right.
So we did that and bought courses from gurus.
Right. And I mean, it's not our fault. We've never done sales before. So obviously you're okay, this guy's, flying jets, whatever. Let's buy his course.
Gotta believe it, right?
You gotta believe it, right? It's he knows what he's doing for sure. Let's buy the course. Didn't even question. You just see a jet. I mean, he's been nurturing us for probably months already with whatever content he's got. And at that time, we didn't need the course. But then it's like, okay, we need a course. Who's the number one guy at this time, right? We buy the course and then we start to study everything in this course. I think, like we knocked that whole course out in like what, a weekend or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, and it was like
Pretty long.
over 100 hours of content.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one later, but all
It was
shit. Honestly, it was
garbage.
horrible advice.
I mean, but that's the thing.
Motivating as hell, but that's all you get out of there.
Motivating, and all the information is free on YouTube. So, but the one thing that I learned so quickly with you when we first started was that you move at warp speed when it comes to a new idea. Like, if you got a new idea for a business right now, within the hour, name, logo, domain, all socials, all done, all taken care of.
Like we're starting now, right?
It's go time, like 0 to 1,000 in no time. Some people can handle it. Some people can't.
No, they cannot.
I gotta say, because that's how Sassy Egg was. We went
Everything was fast paced.
0 to 100 immediately. And for a guy was in my position down bad, I was like,
yeah, honestly,
holy
like
shit.
at that moment, it was so natural to me that I didn't look at anybody else, right? Like
Yeah.
either you're following or you're not, and I didn't care. Now that I look at like more like about like people around me, I know like what you were doing was like incredible to you as well, because for you to keep up with that is like pretty phenomenal, And at that time, I'm telling you, like, I did not look at you whatsoever. You're either waking up and keeping up. And I just wasn't like a thing that, I thought of, you know? It was just like, this is the goal. This is what needs to be done. I'm going. He's coming.
And I've
not.
never taken that against you either, because I didn't know anything at that point. I mean, yeah, I went to business school, but I dropped out, and it was just regurgitating the books that the professors were reading directly from. And none of my professors ever started a business. So that's the main reason why I dropped out, because I'm like, how the hell can I learn business from somebody who's reading out of a book? I could get these books from, half price books or Amazon used for a quarter of the price and learn this all myself and save myself $60K in tuition for that year.
Right. Yeah, I remember like in my business class before I dropped out, was like guy was teaching, like trying to teach me how to do a resume. Like, and we spent like a week or something like building a resume. Like, come on, like,
and that's
if I don't even know how to do a resume, like that's not even like necessary, Like,
right.
But like, what? That just didn't make sense to me.
Touching on that too,
and he did not own a business.
A scouting recruiter can like the way a resume is done one way, whereas like 10 other businesses and their hiring department, they could like it all different. So like, yeah, there's a general outline of like how to do it, but like you could go to 5 different interviews in one day, and 3 of the people interviewing are not going to like
Everybody's
your resume
different.
setup.
Like me, for example, when I used to hire a lot of people, like the only thing almost that I would look at a resume was, did this person have a lot of jobs in a, short amount of time? If I saw that this guy was, this person, I should say, had a lot of jobs, I probably didn't even like consider that person, because I know we're going to train him or her, and
they'll be gone within 3 months.
Yeah, like that's just a waste of my time, And some person, they might not even care about that. That's looking at a resume, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody's different for sure.
It was a time for sure that starting the marketing company, and I mean, we started it before you even moved in.
Yeah.
It was like a couple months, and then I had the idea. I was like, well, if we're going this fast, instead of waking up and me driving from the south side to the suburbs, or you come from the suburbs to the south side, I have a 2-bed apartment.
Move in.
Screw it, just move in. So then
happened basically, you told me, I think while I was moving out that same day, I remember my parents were going crazy.
48 hours. Yeah, that was That
My
was
mom was
something.
crying. She's like, "You didn't even tell me for." I'm like, "I didn't even know till today," you know? And that's what you're saying. Like, we're going at lightning speed. The decision making was always super fast. And I think that's key. You know, there's nothing to think about except I think speed is your friend at that point. So you have to make those decisions fast. And I think every decision, I don't have any regrets about any of those decisions. I mean, they've led us up to this point. We're like brothers at this point, right? Everything we're doing, pretty successful. I love the life. But yeah, back then when I moved in, I remember we did it that same weekend and then we just got straight to work. I think a week later we got an office.
Yeah, we got the office on Michigan Ave right across from Millennium Park. And it was just Monday through Saturday, wake up 4 a.m., go to the gym by 5, and then back at the kitchen table, showered, ready to go by 7:30 a.m. with a coffee in hand after already doing a scoop or two of pre-workout just to,
And I remember you wouldn't speak to me until we got back home from the gym, like 4 a.m., alarms go off. We get in the car, no words. We get to the gym, no words. We're doing our workouts. You're just going through the motion. And then literally we get home and that's when you started to like get in the shower and then you would finally warm up and start talking to me.
And everybody knows I love to talk.
Right.
I love to
brutal.
talk and I love to just be around people and do that. I wanted to murder you.
Honestly, like I didn't like that
worst.
either, you know, like I don't do that today. And that's another thing. Like, I think that you have to enjoy the journey. If you're doing like it's okay to be, you know, uncomfortable a little bit. I think it's a little bit necessary because if you kind of get complacent, you know, that's also not good. But I think just hating every single day is not a good thing. And that just looking forward till the next day, knowing you have to wake up at 4 a.m. and do that, that was no fun.
Right.
Like, could you tell that I didn't even like it or not so much? Because I just was so like,
yeah. I mean, there were times where I saw it. I was like, does this fucking guy actually like doing this? I was like, I know you love to work out. And that's another thing. When we started, I was, because of like the partying and the drug use, I was 150 pounds soaking wet. I was a 6'1" skeleton, you know? And then you come in and we start working out. You're like, oh, I told you, I was like, yeah, I want to bulk up a little, like put on size. And like, I don't like the way I look. And you're like, I got you. This is all, you got to just eat. We were putting down like 5K calories.
Yeah, it was insane.
Every single day. I went from 150 to 180 pounds.
No, you almost hit 200.
Well, I'm saying
okay,
the 150 to 180 was within like under 90 days.
Yeah, it was fast.
And then,
but you were also telling I can't gain weight, right?
Because I was eating crap and I was just eating one big meal at it. Like what I thought was a big meal was like 2,800 calorie, one big meal a day. And I was like, well, that's a lot. And you're like, no, you have to break it up and like eat more and actually work out. And for what you work out, like all that stuff it's just so much more, you know, and all the protein shakes we were doing. I remember I would get clothes and within 2 weeks, I'd have to go get more new clothes because I was just, my shirts were too tight. My pants were, how many jeans did I rip? Because
a lot. I just know one event that you like were trying to and you just had like a belly at that point.
It was bad.
Bit. Yeah. We went too fast, but that just kind of goes to show you that people are like saying, "Oh, we're not getting results." You're just not doing it right, and you're not doing enough of it. You know, because how easy was that? You just ate. That's it.
Yeah.
And you weren't really eating bad food either. It was pretty like whole foods.
It was pretty clean. And the 4 a.m. wake ups, that was like a 4-month thing. That wasn't a long time. We did it.
Yeah,
I mean, we did it.
We both knew we didn't like it.
Right. And we also, another big thing was testing theories and testing how things worked out. Right.
Right.
And we realized that waking up that early had less effect, a shittier workout for us
Absolutely.
than if we waited till like
After the
9
office.
a.m. or even later.
Because later we would go after the office. I think like 6 p.m., which I also don't like working out that late, but it was way better than waking up at 4 a.m. and going to the gym. Like I would personally never do that again.
Absolutely not.
Not for me.
No.
And that's the thing that like people also have to understand, that you have to figure out what works for you. It's good to have a routine, but you have to find one that works for you, right? And don't listen to people on the internet that tell you that this is the only way. Like you will not be successful, because there's a lot of them that do that.
Snake oil.
Snake oil for sure. And they tell you like, you have to wake up at this time. You have to take a cold bath. You have to do this. Like, okay, that's nonsense, you know?
Right.
If it works for you, great. Follow that advice. But most likely,
That's the key, is does it work for
yeah,
you?
if it works for you.
And like, not everything is going to be 100% enjoyable all the time.
Yeah.
Like you got to like it too. But
dig deeper if they're actually like doing that to you, giving you that advice, because they're most likely selling you something.
see if they actually consistently are like posting at that time in the mornings.
Yeah, they might not even be taking their own advice.
Right.
Most likely they're not.
And even then, they could go 2 days, film like 2 hours worth of content at that time, have a bunch of different wardrobe changes, and just utilize that for a month
sure.
and spit out the content like that.
Yeah,
So,
you never know. You never know. You got to be very careful with that stuff.
for sure. Yeah. And then, I mean, after Sassy Egg, it was, well, I guess during Sassy Egg, we had more ideas for businesses. It was like,
A lot. We were doing too much.
that's what it came out to be. It was way too much. We took 2 people, us 2, and reached out to a couple other friends and saw that if they were kind of interested, because they reached out about business and stuff.
Right.
So it was, we had Zelenos, the sunglass company.
We had a lot of
We
them.
had another subscription box that was healthcare based. Still had Sassy Egg, the 1%, which was like a media blog that we were trying to do.
Right.
Booking Koala was getting started.
Yeah, because in my head, well, Booking Koala wasn't yet coming into play. Those things came first, right? But in my head, it was like, okay, we have extra money. How about we just duplicate the companies and invest some money here, get a person to run that, teach them what we know, and then, do it that way and scale like 5 different companies, because that would be the fastest way to get massive success. But then you quickly learn that it's really hard to find someone that maybe has the same level of dedication as me, or maybe even half that, because all of them would quit.
Yeah.
Some of them wouldn't even like get to a point, like take the advice that I was telling them. Like they would quit before then.
Yeah.
Which was pretty crazy to me, because like, I mean, it is what it is. I've learned a lot from those experiences as well. I definitely learned how to invest in other people now. Back then it was just, I thought anybody can do it, and that's 100% not right. Right. That's never going to happen. There's just, I don't know, it's not a formula, but you could almost call it a formula, that people have to check off these boxes in order to have greater success, like a greater chance of success, right? All those people were like, from what I know, the checklist, what it should be now, those people had like none of those points. And I think to give you an example, I think one of the most important ones is that if you don't have your life figured out, and you don't, like, you can't pay for, you can't support yourself, that's going to probably end up in a failed leader, a failed business, because they're always going to be thinking how to, make money, how to pay for rent. They're always going to be stressing. Mm-hmm. So they're never going to give you that quality focus on that business, right? And a lot of those people had that. And, all it took is like, oh, I need more money this month or something like that. The focus would now shift because they went into this emergency mode, and that's it. Like now, you're not working on the business for 2 weeks or 1 month. So it's like you have to look at certain things about an individual to actually have the great chance of success, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. But another thing with that is we were extremely lucky in certain aspects that allowed us to focus even more on what we were doing. Where we were living, where I started living, the 2-flat with my dad owned, right? Still owns it. He lived on the first floor, or lives there still. And then he let me live rent-free upstairs. So rent wasn't an issue. So that's a big thing that we didn't have to worry about that other people do. And we recognize that. It's not like, oh, we had it super tough. No, we are blessed for things that helped
Grateful
us.
for everything,
For sure. And it's not like, oh, we're going to sit here and tell people we had it so hard, like you just fucking grind it out. No, we had luck. We had luck on our side with things, but
everybody has luck.
We didn't squander
with it,
that
right?
luck. We
took advantage.
We took
of
advantage
it.
of it and doubled down and utilized that time to just grind out
and make things work.
And make it work.
But it's also not to say that, everything was luck, because that's not true. There was so much hard work that turned into luck, how I say it. And not everything was easy, right? I mean, definitely, like, I will say we had it easier than some people, but also some people have it way easier than us at the same time, right? So it's not like that we had everything easy. Like, you could say that someone that's starting a business with much more money than we have has it easier than everything that we've done, right?
Right.
So it's like, to each their own. You just got to take advantage of what you have, and whatever is, like, I guess, working for you or in your favor, you have to take advantage of that. Like me starting at 19, living with parents, like, that's a gift.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, going back to, like, finding another person to invest in that doesn't stress, right? I wasn't stressing because everything was paid for. I lived rent free at that time. Laundry was done. My mom was doing, food was paid for. I could take all the risk in the world and not worry about anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what's there to worry about? If you fail, you sleep the same, you eat the same, like, there's nothing to worry about. So if you're in that situation and you're not taking advantage of it, I mean, and you're whining 10 years later that, for whatever reason, that's your own fault.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's the one thing I guess we want to, like, hammer home, is that we understand hardships, and that it's not, people are going to have it harder than others, but just knowing what situation you're in and that you can get out of it, it is hard.
Right.
No matter, life is a bitch and a half.
Everybody's got their own battles, right?
Absolutely. It's just lean on the people that you have around you.
That's important.
That is huge. Don't go at it alone. And I'm not saying, like, get a business partner or something, but just lean on your friends, because the ones that truly care will be there for you at 2 a.m. when you need them, and it'll make it that much easier for you.
100%.
That was one of the things also that when we were looking at people to start these businesses, It wasn't people that maybe one or two were close like that, but everybody else was just like acquaintances, people that we kind of just knew. And add that to the mix of, life that we didn't understand on their part, it fell apart.
Yeah, and we were also new to that part, right? Like, new experiences, something new for us. Had to learn from something, right? Which, again, I think those are, I mean, I've invested a lot of money during that time. None of it and nothing went to anything, like nothing amassed to anything. But I've got so much experience from that part that money is literally nothing compared to the experiences and the lessons learned from that time. That came in handy later on for sure, especially now too, when we're looking to invest in other people and things like that. Like, you already know, based on those times, what to look for, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to literally there's a lesson in everything. You just have to look for it. So you have to think that way. But then we would fast forward, unless you had something to say.
Well, no, I just to double on that is in the beginning of like starting out, I would be like, I don't know jack shit, which I didn't. But then as time went on and like you said, more life experiences happen, I took that more into being like, well, I know because that happened, I know the result. So now I know I learned way more from doing and the life experiences than learning from somebody like personally from like a book or like a course or something like that, which that too plays out into a life experience. You know?
I mean, it's nice if you can take someone else's mistakes and learn from them so you don't do them. It's nice, but sometimes you don't have that luxury. You got to make that mistake yourself, right? So you cannot be scared of making the mistakes because you literally, success is a bunch of mistakes.
Right.
For a very long time until you finally start to put things together and find a little bit of success here, a little bit of success there, and then
I was the
big success.
I was the master at
making mistakes.
I was the master at making mistakes. Like that time in college from freshman year to junior year when I dropped out, I was drinking Wednesday through Sunday. Monday, Tuesday were my recovery days.
I didn't even know that. Maybe I wouldn't even have you come on board if I knew those things.
Honestly, I that's why I was surprised
I reached out to you?
You reached out to me, and it was because you didn't know. And I'm like,
I always had just kind of one rule. Everything was like family and being around good people.
right.
I don't care if you've made certain mistakes or that maybe you're lazy or something like that. Like I kind of could overlook that as long as you're a good human being, right? That's all that always mattered to me. And so, yeah, even if you were drinking every day and I could tell that you kind of want to get better, you know, and do something with your life, I wouldn't care as long as I knew you were a good person, which you always were. That's why we connected. Because as you could tell, everybody in my life today is a good person.
Yeah.
Like, and in yours too, right?
Right.
Which we share something in common, the values, the loyalty, the family. Everybody else, I don't care about those people.
Zero.
That literally have none of those values. Like I truly don't care about those people. Like I don't want them around me.
Right.
So that's why I wouldn't care. But yeah, carry on because you have a story there.
It's hard to talk about, but at the same time, it's not, just because like now I'm in therapy for it, for not just that, but like everything that's happened in my life, like from a kid to most recently the last couple months, I guess. Yeah, it was incredibly strange when we first got started. Not gonna lie, I was super happy, but it was just, I had no idea who the hell I was as a person. And honestly, I didn't see myself living past like 23, 24. Like it was the path that I was going down, it was bad. I've had liver issues where the doctor was like, if you don't stop the shit you're doing, you will be dead. Because not only was I drinking so heavily, it was like mixing it with pills and just, I became somebody that like was the fun guy to party with, and that was it. And it sucked because I didn't want to be like that.
It's fun for that moment.
For sure. And I got sucked into that lifestyle where it's like, this is amazing. Let's party all the time. Like get bottles on the weekends. Like I saved no money. It was basically whatever I made went into partying. And I guess I hit it so well because my dad didn't even know, living downstairs, you know? And
does he know now?
well, he knows now. Yeah.
in case he's watching.
My mom, only when I told her, she didn't know either. I mean, I guess she figured because I would be very irritable anytime I'd go visit her. Yeah, it was a time for sure. And I feel like you can get through it if you have, like we said, you lean on the right people. If I would have pulled, like, if you never reached out and I pulled the trigger to move to Wisconsin, I don't even know if I'd even be here right now.
Wow.
Because
So me reaching out was a good thing.
it was a lifesaver.
Wow.
It completely changed my life. By far, one of the best things that's ever happened to me, besides meeting my wife.
I don't want to start crying.
No, but that's the brotherhood we have, and that's how I see, like, we're family like that. I mean, we had, in our wedding, I had 2 best men. My wife had 2, maid of honor, matron of honor. You had same thing in your wedding, and I was one of the best men in your wedding. You were one of the best men in my wedding. And also, I'm an ordained minister, and I married you and your wife.
Yes,
so, like, it comes full circle. It's
crazy.
And
that's what I love about everything that we're doing. It's a journey, but it's a fun one, you know?
Right.
Even the hard things we were doing at the beginning, they were like, we learned from them, even though they were like tough, right? Like you saying, waking up at 4 a.m., working with the lights off, right? The curtains were always closed, which we were doing that on purpose. We'll probably share that in a different episode, why we do things like that, or why I would do things like that. But yeah, I mean, everything is an experience, and it should be a fun one at the end of the day. So like going forward, we want to have fun, and that's why we also want to do this podcast as well, because that's something that I think is going to be fun for us. It's going to be fun for everybody else. And hopefully when we look back at this in 10, 20 years, we'll have fun watching these shows as well.
I mean, the craziest thing to me, realizing the date right now, is that it hasn't even been 10 years. Like, all the stuff that we've gone through and that's happened has been in under 10 years. And I feel like I've lived 3 lifetimes. And I say that in the best way possible.
The best way, right.
Like,
I feel the same way.
Stuff happens so quickly. Like, life literally flies by. It almost feels like it was just yesterday, but it also feels like a lifetime ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, so basically, let's do a part 2 about booking Koala, how we got into that, since we kind of gave the story for everybody from kind of how we met to basically leading up to booking Koala. And then we'll talk and share the story about, you know, how Vivek came into play, who's our other partner in India, and how we've built booking Koala to what it is today, with thousands of users, worth, you know, millions of dollars at this point. And I think that'll be somewhere nice to start off.
Let's do it.
All right. That's it for today.